he may represent Surat, though he may is in Delhi, but he is our own of Gandhidham especially. Shri Jayesh Chaira sir, who is always there with us. Sir, your keynote address on this topic, sir.
Thank you very much, Karan. A very good morning to all of you. Karan Thakkar, the chairman, Gandhidham branch, Jitendra Thakkar, chairman, Bhuj branch, and Bhavesh Thakkar, chairman, Anand branch, very rightly said by Hitesh Bhai, that trio, Thakkars, my very learned council colleague, young and energetic, CA Aniket Talaki, and a very good friend of mine, CA Hitesh Pomal, and all my dear friends. First of all, let me compliment all the three branches for coming together for this very important topic of code of conduct, code of ethics, and for selecting the most appropriate speaker. I agree with Hitesh Bhai that listening to Aniket on any topic is lavoche, and more particularly if it is RERA or code of ethics, then definitely it is something really very, very important. And friends, very rightly said by Jitu Bhai that, opportunities have increased multifold. These days, we can clearly see that the opportunities in our profession have multifold. It increased multifold. Of course, during this 2020, there have been some challenges to the economy itself, to the business itself. So naturally, there will be an impact on our profession also. But once the activities, continues back, definitely we are going to look at a very vibrant economy and opportunities increasing. See, when opportunities increase, and at the same time, because of technology, we are in a position to serve across the globe, our responsibility also increases. Opportunities, rights, privileges, and responsibilities go hand in hand. It's very natural. And if you look across the globe, the expectation of the stakeholders from our profession are increasing day by day. And when the expectations are increasing, is it wrong? Definitely not. They feel that we are very proficient. They feel that we have very professionalism. And hence, they will expect more and more from us. So that is what is the position. And looking at it, the global body, IFAC, felt that there is the need for revision of Code of Ethics. And that was done. Of course, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India played a very vital role in IFAC. Whenever some major issues come in IFAC, today IFAC looks at ICAI because Institute of Chartered Accountants of India always contributes very well in IFAC. So on this particular aspect, there was a lot of discussion in the Ethical Standard Board of ICAI. On the basis of that, we provided very good inputs to the IFAC, and ultimately, the new code of conducts came up. And naturally, India is a global, in ICAI, is definitely part of the global body. And we immediately took up this matter that we should also revise our ethics. Of course, our code of ethics were perfectly fine for so many years, but in the changing scenario, changing business practices, it is very essential that we keep on revising, we keep on upgrading. And that is what it happened. And a lot of deliberations took place at ICAI in this particular aspect. And definitely, very rightly said, there cannot be any compromise in terms of ethics, right? This is not a relative term. It is absolute. You have to follow. Very wisely, somebody has said that relativity applies to physics, not ethics. So the relativity theory of Albert Einstein may apply very well in physics, but when it comes to ethics, no compromises, and particularly in a profession which is considered one of the most noble profession across the globe, one of the most noble profession, there cannot be any compromise on that. And it is said that ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. See, many times law will not incorporate everything what is ethical. So when it comes to ethics, there are two aspects. One which is the codified part of ethics, and another which might not be codified, but that is what is expected from the professionals. Both are very important. Well, let us understand. It is said that, and Warren Buffett said once a very right thing. Look for three things in a person: intelligence, energy, and integrity. I repeat, intelligence, energy, and integrity. And then he said, if they don't have the last one, that is integrity, don't even bother with the first one. So if a person does not have integrity, then intelligence, energy is of no use. Warren Buffett very rightly said, and I think that is what clearly tells us what is the importance of ethics. And I'm really very happy that you've chosen a very right, a very appropriate speaker today on this topic, Aniket Talati. Of course, I was talking to Surat branch. We had invited Aniket on one particular topic in Surat, and I was just discussing with them that whenever I look at Aniket, I'm confused. There are contradictions. Why contradictions? I'll explain. When you look at his knowledge, you find him the senior most person, a very senior person, the way he speaks. And when you look at his age, you find a very young and energetic person. So that is, he's a very good combination, as I was talking about, intelligence, energy, and integrity that, Warren Buffett talked about. And whenever in ethical standard board discussion takes place, I always observe, I always listen very carefully what Aniket has to say. Because many times what happens, our discussions are carried out towards the, major corporates or something like that, corporate ways. So understanding the ground reality, understanding the small and medium practitioners and taking their perspective, I think that is what always Aniket has done. And I can just recollect today because Gandhidham, Bhuj and Anand branch are there. So I can say because Hitesh Bhai is also there. Recently, I had an opportunity once to, visit Gandhidham and Bhuj along with Aniket and Hitesh Bhai. And during the entire travel, we interacted so many aspects about the profession. It was a very interesting thing. And another time, I'm sure Hitesh Bhai will remember, because of some reason, we had once again to visit Kutch for one particular thing. And that was also, I can tell Hitesh Bhai, એ પણ એક લાવો જ હતો કે તમારી સાથે ગાંધીધામ ભુજ visit કરવાનો પાછો મોકો મળ્યો, and very rightly said by Karan. And, all these three branches are very, very important for me. Very, very important for me and Aniket both. Because I think for the infrastructure also of these three branches, we two are the in charges. We two are working upon the infrastructure of these three branches. So I once again compliment the branch for organizing this wonderful program. And I am sure you are going to, enjoy thoroughly the way Aniket is going to, in a very short span of time, how he is going to cover this entire topic, listening to it. It's really great. And I'm not sure whether I should say or not, but on this Sunday, I'm tempted to say, because Hitesh Bhai rightly said, કે આ તો હોમ પીચ છે, આ તો ઘરની વાત છે, તો ઘરના લોકોને તો કહી જ શકાય. Friends, believe me, and hope also and wish also that you are listening to the future president of ICA. I'm sure that,
Yes.
And I think it is, we all collectively have to ensure that from Gujarat, a wonderful leader turns out to be the leader at the national level. Thank you very much for inviting me in this program. Thank you.
Yeah, sir. We are agreed with Jai Bhai. The future president is Aniket Bhai Talati.
Thank you very much, Jay sir. Rightly said, he is a combo of three, intelligence, energy, and integrity towards his duty to ICI. And I'm sure with that, he would be able to deliver to most of the members in the, best possible manner so that we comply with all those standards. Before, giving the platform to Aniket sir, I would request CA Bhavesh Thakkar, Chairman, Anand Branch, to give an introduction of Aniket sir. Bhavesh bhai, your voice is not audible. If you can.
I think Karan, the voice is not coming. Audio is not coming from Bhavesh Bhai.
Probably. No worries with that.
Karan, don't worry. No need for introduction. Jai Bhai and Tamiloko, I think you have said more than enough. Bhavesh Bhai can maybe fix the audio. We can connect him probably after the session and he can speak because there is no audio coming from his side.
Very true, sir. Your introduction would only say your past, but Jay sir has also, highlighted your future. So I'm very sure that that would sum up everything. Over to you, Aniket sir.
I thank you very much. First of all, to all the three branches for inviting me. The three chairmen, very rightly mentioned, the three T's. Actually, ઉપર T થયું એટલે આપણે 4 T થઈ જઈએ છે. 3 ઠક્કર પર તલાટી ભેગો કરો તો it's a full square that we can make. The three T's plus myself. Thank you very much for inviting me. And most of all, thank you very much, Jay Bhai, for those warm, wonderful words. I think you have made my not just Sunday morning, my month, but my year by those genuine words. I have no words to thank. It's always been, sir, a pleasure. હિતેશ ભાઈએ કીધું એમ કદાચ કેટી અમે બધા જેટલા બી મેમ્બર્સ છે વાત કરતા હોઈશું, જયભાઈ has always been a role model. અને તમે આવું કહો ને તો સર, I'm genuinely saying I have no words to express my thanks. It means a lot for me. But let me share also to all the participants today that in fact આ જે ટોપિક છે ને એ મારે તૈયાર કરવાનો કે પ્રેઝન્ટ કરવાનો લાવો પણ જયભાઈના લીધે જ મળ્યો. અને એની સ્ટોરી એવી છે કે હું સુરત ગયો હતો for one of the trusts that had taken a session, and there I was speaking on RERA. After which Jayabhai had a session at a study circle where he was going to take two topics, and both were very, one was on the accounting standards and Ind AS, mixing both related to assets, and then the other was on 2020. અને એ વખતે તો નવું 2020 શરૂ થયું હતું, એટલે આખા જયભાઈના સ્લાઇડમાં કદાચ પેન્ડેમિક કે કોરોના હતું કે નહીં મને ધ્યાન નથી સર, પણ અમે લોકો એવું વિચાર્યું હતું કે 2020 છે એટલે વર્ષ તો ફટાફટ જશે, કેમ કે ક્રિકેટ મેચની જેમ 2020 પતશે. અને સરે મને ત્યાં બોલાયો અને કીધું કે you take a session. I said, sir, I have not prepared for any topic. He said, you were there in the Ethical Standards Board recently, so take on Code of Ethics. And because of that session, sir, actually I ended up preparing on the way, going to the study circle, reading about it, and then as destiny would have it, હું સુરતમાં જ 3 વાર અલગ અલગ સ્ટડી સર્કલ ને બ્રાન્ચમાં લેક્ચર આપી આવ્યો, and then everywhere else in Gujarat. So thank you, Jayabhai, actually for having that confidence in me that I could take this session. It's a very technical topic as such, but Jayabhai જોડે રહ્યા એટલે how to make it interesting એ શીખ્યા. અને to all the members, I can only share, we are all aware of Jayabhai's contribution to ICI. This year specifically, I think the work that has been done under his leadership in the students era, it may be immediate decision of converting the ITT and the GMCS, which was to be taken by branches online, so that students the effect ના થાય. એ લોકોનો કોર્સ માં જે શીખવાનું છે શીખે, રેગ્યુલેશન પ્રમાણે એમને જે આપણે સમજાવવાનું છે સમજે. At the same time, they don't lose an attempt. Huge efforts have been made for that, and now going forward, a new student skill grid is being made to understand and map કે આપણા જે ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ સ્ટુડન્ટ્સ છે એમને ટેકનિકલ નોલેજ તો સારી છે, પણ કઈ સ્કિલ્સ એમને જોઈએ છે to make them more competitive, more employable, and more importantly, more successful if they decide and go to own practice. So Jayabhai has played a phenomenal role all these years. It may be PDC, it may be the peer review board, all the committees that sir has headed. And we are all thankful and grateful to you, sir, for all the service that you are doing towards the profession. I think sir has set the tone right about the code of ethics. Also, Katie has mentioned that sometimes આપણે વિચારીએ કે યાર code of ethics માં balance કરવું કે practice માં balance કરવું. I would only say this, that what is the difference between a business and a profession? હું બિઝનેસ કરું છું અને કે હું પ્રોફેશનમાં છું, એ બેમાં કોર અંતર એટલો જ છે. અને I will switch between English and Gujarati because that is what I have been requested. If there is anybody who requires Hindi, you may comment in the chat box, but I think largely આપણી ગુજરાતની બ્રાન્ચો છે એટલે બધા ગુજરાતી સમજશે. So business અને પ્રોફેશનમાં what is the core difference? If I see it, business is very clear cut core objective is profit maximization. Your increase in top line, your increase in bottom line. હું ધંધો કરું તો મારે નફો કમાવાનો છે, and therefore all is fair in love and war. Similarly, all is fair in business. Whatever you have to do, if the times are tough, right now in pandemic situation, for example, all products, traders, manufacturers, they've all risen their prices to make sure that they can maximize their profits. 2 મહિનો ફેક્ટરી બંધ રહી તો અત્યારે એ ભાવે કામ કે પૈસા લેશે. આપણે બધાએ ગયા કિરાણા દુકાન અને જોયું છે કે જે વસ્તુ 50 રૂપિયામાં મળતી હતી આપણે ઘણીવાર 175 રૂપિયામાં લીધેલી છે. So that is the goal and objective. It is acceptable to do while you are doing business. But while you are in profession, you cannot have profit maximization as your sole goal. That is because you are not meant to just earn profit as a professional. What you are supposed to do is you are serve आज જે corona warriors જે આપણા doctors છે એ આપણને અગર ટ્રીટ કરે છે કે આપણું એમનો દવાખાને જઈએ છે તો એવું નથી કહેતા કે કોરોના છે એટલે ડબલ પૈસા આપો. They are still charging us the same amount. Similarly, મારી તમારી ઓડિટ કરવાની કે રિટર્ન ફાઇલ કરવાની ફીસ ડબલ કે વધી નથી ગઈ because we are in the profession. So the key factor differentiating business from profession is the sheer presence of code of ethics. And I think that if we understand why it is important, why this code of ethics is there, then the dilemma that we have spoken about, that Katie discussed, we can take away with. And let me give you one small example. I don't know how many of you would have seen this, but I'm sure WhatsApp na jamanama news travels fast, and majority of you would have probably read this news article, which said that SBI is looking to appoint a CFO, and SBI had approached RBI. And very important for all of us as chartered accountants to appreciate and understand this. SBI એટલે કે દેશની સૌથી મોટી PSU bank, the public sector bank. Probably all banks put together will not match up to the size of SBI. And they wanted to appoint a CFO, and they sought the permission of RBI whether the CFO should be a chartered accountant or we can appoint maybe a MBA finance or somebody else. And RBI has given a very clear categorical direction that the CFO has to be a chartered accountant. So you may be a MBA in finance from Harvard, from Stanford, from IIM, from any institute of the world. You will still require to be a chartered accountant if you want to be the CFO of SBI. And that came important. Not just because any salary is going to be 1 crore, which is higher than the salary of the managing director and of the chairman of SBI. ये तो fact છે જ. આપણો કોઈ ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ હજી અપોઇન્ટમેન્ટ નથી થઈ, 15 વર્ષથી વધારે એક્સપિરિયન્સ હોય, એને 1 કરોડની કન્સોલિડેટેડ સેલરીમાં SBI અપોઇન્ટ કરશે. But more important to understand and appreciate and digest is that the salary of 1 crore to that employee who will be the CFO of SBI, who will also be a public servant. Please mind well that the Corruption Act applies to public servants, to public officers. And there are numerous Supreme Court judgments which have quoted that similar to a public employee or a grade employee, a employee of a bank will also be regarded as a public officer because he's dealing with public funds. And now when you talk about public officers, government employees, જેટા આપણામાંથી લોકોનો અગર કોઈ સગામાં રિલેટિવ ગવર્મેન્ટમાં હશે તો we know that there are scales and grades that they follow for their salary structure. And also the biggest grade in this services, IAS or IFS or IRS is that of the cabinet secretary, and his salary is 2,50,000 per month. Now that's age salary per chief justice, chief of army staff, CVC and CAG no pagar hoy છે. And our chartered accountant, not IAS, not IRS, not IPS, not any other profession, will be getting a salary within the government framework of 1 crore rupees, higher than the MD, higher than chairman, higher than any other government employee. I think this is a matter of great pride. And why this has happened, I think if we appreciate that fact, if we understand that, તો આ કોડ ઓફ એથિક્સ ફોલો કરવામાં જે આપણને ઘણીવાર ડાયલેમા થાય છે એ નહીં થાય. અને એટલે જ થયું છે because of the great value this profession, the great respect this profession commands from all corners of society, from all regulators. And we have to salute all our forefathers, our seniors who have laid the foundation for our profession to be such. They have lived their life, they have performed their professional duty in a manner કે લોકોને એટલો ટ્રસ્ટ છે કે ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટને આ જવાબદારી સોંપીશું તો એક તો એ સારી રીતે કરશે, સક્ષમ રીતે કરશે, but more importantly ethically કરશે. And if that ethics we want to value, then I think the flag of the profession will keep flying higher for decades and generations to come, and nobody can come and tell us that you are second to anybody. But yes, if we have a feeling કે ઠીક છે યાર જેટલું થાય એટલું એથિક્સ કરીશું, 19-20 થશે તો ચાલશે, પણ આપણે નફો બી કમાવો છે. Yes, we all want to make money, but do we want to make money at any cost? But if that is the objective, કે ના યાર પૈસા તો ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે, આ બધી થિયોરેટિકલ વાતો છે, મારે નથી સાંભળવી, તો then મારી એક જ રિક્વેસ્ટ છે અને આપણે બધાએ માની લેવું પડશે, આઈ એમ ઇન્ક્લુડિંગ માય સેલ્ફ, જો આપણે પ્રોફિટ કમાવું હોય then we should not expect that tomorrow maybe on social media or on news or maybe on a function when a government functionary invited and he comes and says something bad or which we do not like about our profession. Then we should not say what is ICI doing, what are we doing, what are others doing, what are associations doing, because then we have probably accepted that when profit maximization was the goal, then we cannot demand the respect that we always had. But if we want to, and I'm sure 99% of our members want to earn respect, એટલે જ આપણે professionમાં છે અને business નથી કરતા, then we have to accept that the code of ethics is the core fundamental part of our profession. It sets us apart not just from business, but it also sets us apart from all other professions that are in the country. So with this background, I think if we all dive into the code of ethics, it will be very useful. Maybe we can appreciate and digest things in a more better manner. So before we go to the code of ethics, the revised code of ethics, એમાં 3 part છે. We will discuss each part. Part A, જેને volume 1 કહીએ છે. Part B, જેને volume 2 કહીએ છે. And then volume 3, which is the disciplinary course case referencer. So the part 1 or the part A, volume 1 was discussed, debated and approved by the council in the last term. I did not have the opportunity to take part in that discussion because એ 2018 ની council માં approve થઈ ગયું હતું એ 19 માં આવવાનું હતું. It was postponed to first of April. It was scheduled to be launched on 1st of April 2020, further postponed by the council to 1st of July. Part B and volume 3 is just a case law references, so it was a compilation, but part B was approved by the council last year, that is in 2019, when I was a part. So before we go to the new code of ethics, what I would like to do for a couple of minutes is also look at the old code of ethics, because આજે જ્યારે આપણે જૂનમાં બેઠા છે ત્યારે તો આ 2009 નું code of ethics implemented છે, લાગુ છે અને applicable છે. So let's refresh ourselves for a couple of minutes about the old code of ethics. So the old code of ethics, dear colleagues, was one book, simple, with two parts, part A, part B. Part A ISBA, એટલે કે જે જયભાઈએ કીધું એમ ઇન્ટરનેશનલ કોડ પરથી આપણે લીધેલા એના પ્રિન્સિપલ્સ છે, એના ફંડામેન્ટલ્સ છે. That was in part A. અને part B is the domestic provisions. It also included the case laws. બે જ ભાગ હતા, એક જ વોલ્યુમમાં, એક જ ચોપડીમાં આવતા હતા. હવે એની વાત કરીએ તો મારા પાસે થોડા ક્વેશ્ચન્સ છે, and my request to everybody who's listening, please pay attention on your screen. Don't read the answer. My request is, એટલે જ મેં આન્સર જાણી સામે જ આપી દીધા છે, but my questions will be asked and try and reply to it on the chat. The first question that I would like to ask based on the existing code of ethics is, can an auditor write the books of accounts of the auditee? Auditor હોઉં, કંપનીનો ઓડિટ કરતો હોઉં, હું એના ચોપડા લખી શકું? Can I do bookkeeping? Please go ahead and feel free to write your answers in the chat box. I would appreciate your participation. Don't worry, koi sachu khotu nathi. Even if you make a mistake, it's all right, but certain answers in the chat box will make us more participative. We can appreciate the, if yes, Karan bhai first to answer no, Vishal bhai is saying no, yes, Trishanku is saying he should not directly, no. So directly pan nahi, and Abhishek bhai perfect, yes, Jay bhai, I think fantastic, Hardik bhai, everybody's given the right answer. Umang bhai, Jignesh bhai, I can see no, you cannot. And directly and indirectly nahi, chartered accountant kadi pan bookkeeping નું કામ નથી કરી શકતો. Please be very clear, categorical. Multiple case laws that I can cite, જ્યાં કોઈએ complaint કરી હોય અને institute disciplinary committee માં case આયો હોય, and there were two bills or invoices that were found. One was for auditing services, tax audit, return filing, and the other was for preparing books of accounts. You have no way to escape that. You are not allowed to do it. Clause 4 of part 1 of the second schedule of our CA Act clearly prohibits auditor to writing the books of accounts of the auditee. એટલે બધા જ આવી ગયા, કંપની હોય, પાર્ટનરશિપ હોય, પ્રોપ્રાઇટરશિપ હોય, LLP હોય, ટ્રસ્ટ હોય કે કોઓપરેટિવ હોય. You cannot write the books of these entities. In fact, in the new Companies Act, the Companies Act 2013, Section 144 has put a specific bar on these activities, saying you cannot do these management responsibility. So very true. Glad to see that almost all of you had the right answer. You cannot do it directly or also indirectly. Books of accounts writing is not something to be done. And why? We will learn when we go forward. Second question, again, simple. Chartered accountant in practice, can he be a director simpliciter in any company? એટલે કોઈ એક કંપની છે, પબ્લિક લિમિટેડ હોય કે પ્રાઇવેટ લિમિટેડ હોય, એમાં એ ડિરેક્ટર સિમ્પ્લિસિટર થઈ શકે? ઇન્ડિપેન્ડન્ટ ડિરેક્ટર કે ડિરેક્ટર? અભિષેક ભાઈ is the first to answer. He's saying yes. Any other views? Dinesh bhai, Vishal bhai, I think fantastic. I can see all your replies on my screen. Yes, a chartered accountant in practice can be a director simpliciter of a company. What is director simpliciter? Our definition akha duniya ma kasse nathi except the revised code of ethics. A director simpliciter means a chartered accountant or rather a director who is not the whole-time director or the managing director of the company. So basically you are not in executive function of a company. Then you can be a director simpliciter. You attend board meetings and you get paid to attend these board meetings. That is permitted. Listed company માં independent director બનાય, બીજી company માં પણ બનાય. But yes, Dinesh, you have to be non-executive. You cannot do an executive role. અહીંયા પણ lot of disciplinary cases that one would have seen where our chartered accountant members knowingly or other more times unknowingly end up becoming directors in some company, may have signed certain vouchers or have been signatories to the bank accounts. Now that is clearly demonstrating, if somebody can please mute the other participants. Yes, thank you. So that is clearly demonstrating that you are involved in the day-to-day activity of the company. And that is not permitted, not allowed. You can only be as a director simpliciter. One important point જે અત્યારે મારે કહેવું છે, ઘણા લોકોને નહીં ખબર હોય, ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ ઇન પ્રેક્ટિસ તરીકે you can also be a managing director of certain companies. A managing director. COP rakho, practice karo, attestation karo, and still be a managing director. And what are those companies? Those are management consultancy companies registered with ICI in the corporate form of practice. So tomorrow, if Trikanshu, for example, wants to form a company and practice in a corporate form, become the managing director of the company, he can still hold his COP, continue his practice, and be a managing director. Only thing is, you have to register this company with ICI. A lot of us are not aware, but je loko nu corporate style nu kaam che, or they feel ke mare corporate style ma practice karni che. This has been allowed by the institute almost 10-15 years ago. If any one of you wants to take advantage, all the guidelines are available on the ICI website. But yes, clear to understand for all other companies. And of course, you cannot be auditor. Jack audit karta ho, there you cannot be a director. But for other companies, you can be a director simpliciter. So my next question, this private limited company in which you are a director simpliciter gets converted into a LLP. So directors become partners. Can a chartered accountant in practice be a partner in a LLP, that is a manufacturing LLP or a trading LLP? Or is there a concept of partner simpliciter in LLP? Any views? Can a chartered accountant in practice be a partner in LLP? Yes, Jinesh bhai, you are right. You cannot be. I think everybody started replying. You are all correct. Tame private limited company ma ki limited company ma director simpliciter ke independent director thai sako. But LLP but there is no concept of partner simpliciter, and therefore this is not allowed. I move to the next question. Again, we have some very young, good-looking personalities on the screen that I can see. So if you feel that you have a personality to impress, question is whether you can put your photograph on the visiting cards. Yes, Gaurang bhai, perfect. Ketan bhai is right. Potano photo, jetlo pan game, you cannot put it on your visiting card. You cannot be on a visiting card your own photograph. On the LLP, there was one question that can a chartered accountant practice be then a partner in any LLP? Yes, if your firm, that is your practicing firm, Himmat bhai Patel છે આપણી જોડે હવે સરની ફર્મ છે, પાર્ટનરશિપ ફર્મ છે, અને સાહેબ કે ના હવે મારે એને LLP માં કન્વર્ટ કરવી છે. So you convert it to LLP, register with ICI, that is as good as a partnership firm. In that firm, you can be a partner, but to be a partner simpliciter on a manufacturing or trading LLP is not possible. So therefore, if you look at the question again, it is very clear. Partners LLP, which is not doing professional work, but in commercial activity. So એમાં તમારાથી partner ના થવાય, પણ CA firm ની LLP માં holding COP you can become. So these were dear colleagues certain questions, and I'm glad to see કે આ ત્રણેય branch ભુજ હોય, ગાંધીધામ હોય કે આણંદ હોય, બધામાંથી participation આવ્યું છે, and most of you have answered these questions correctly, which tells us what, that by and large code of ethics to understanding તો ઘણું સારું છે. ત્રણેય બ્રાન્ચોમાં rather akha Gujarat ma people understand the code of ethics, core principles of these. And mind well, if these core principles are clear in your mind, then I believe it may be the 2009 code or the 19 code which is being made applicable for you to accept, adopt, appreciate, and apply this new code of ethics is going to be extremely easy, because the principles and fundamentals have to be understood. That is how this code is divided into. There are 3 parts to this code of ethics, like I discussed. First is volume 1, which is part A, and એમાં overall principles ની વાત કરવામાં આવી છે, which is based on the ISBA's code of ethics. The volume 2 deals with the domestic provisions, which is part B. એમાં Companies Act na lidhe, what are the limitations? For example, you cannot do more than 30 audits. UDIN, which is an Indian phenomena. Then other restrictions on tax audit, advertisement guidelines, website guidelines, council general directions, they are all part of part B. And then volume 3 deals with the disciplinary cases for under each of the clauses of the schedules of the act. What are the different case laws that have been occurred? What were the decisions that the ICI's disciplinary committee took? They are all published over there. These are all now available online. I'm sharing the link on your screen. Please visit the ICI website and you can download all 3. I would rather request all 3 chairmen that if possible from the branch end, you can download these 3 all 3 volumes and send it in one email to all our members who are participating, so that they have the latest version of the code of ethics on their computer. All 3 volumes have been published. They are available on the ICI website. And I would request that we must at least have, if not the hard copy, soft copy of our code of ethics saved. તમારા મનમાં ઘણીવાર સવાલ આવશે કે બહાર હોર્ડિંગ બનાવવું છે, મારી પ્રોફાઇલ બનાવી છે, કયો ફોન્ટ સાઇઝ વાપરું, ક્લાયન્ટનું નામ લખાય કે ના લખાય, ટેસ્ટિમોનિયલ ક્લાયન્ટનું લેવાય કે ના લેવાય. All of those will be clear if you have these 3 volumes. Additionally, I will also share a copy of this PPT so that you can refer to it. I've tried to cover major changes in all volumes through this presentation. So all 3 volumes we have discussed. We now start with volume 1. એટલે કે જે પ્રિન્સિપલ ફ્રેમવર્ક ની વાત કરે છે કોડ ઓફ એથિક્સ માં, which talks about the fundamentals on which we will decide how you are supposed to be ethical. So what are then the 5 most important substantive changes? એટલે કે અંદર મેજર ચેન્જ મુદ્દાઓમાં કયા કરવામાં આવ્યા છે આપણે એની વાત કરીએ તો 5 મેં અહીંયા હાઇલાઇટ કર્યા છે. 5 important changes. First and foremost is the concept of NOCLAR, NOCLAR, non-compliance of laws and regulations. Please be honest, how many of us in this participation have heard of the word NOCLAR? If you can revert on the chat box. Again, no judging anybody. મને બી કદાચ કાઉન્સિલમાં ગયો પહેલા મેં NOCLAR નહોતું સાંભળ્યું, એટલે there is nothing to be ashamed of. Or yes, I'm glad that Ketan bhai has heard, but I think rest, most of you, Umang bhai, Gunjan bhai, I appreciate your honesty. Most of us do not know NOCLAR, and therefore very important in today's deliberations જે આપણે કરીશું, 2 definition that you have to understand and appreciate, because those are very important, will change the dynamics of the code of ethics. One is NOCLAR, that is non-compliance of laws and regulation. Other is PIE. PIE એટલે મોહનદાસ પાઈ કે એ વાળો પાઈ નથી, PIE, Public Interest Entity. આ 2 abbreviations કે જે short forms છે નવા code of ethics માં introduce થયા છે, and they will have a far reaching impact. So those are 2 important things that we will learn. But coming back to the 5 substantive changes, first an important substantive change is NOCLAR. What is NOCLAR? Simple example. You were earlier going to an audit. Company નું audit હતું તો આપણે Companies Act ના compliance 184, 185, લોન લીધી છે એ બધા જોતા હતા. ઇન્કમ ટેક્સ નું audit હતું તો કેશ પેમેન્ટ કર્યા છે, 216 SST નું compliance છે, TDS ડિડક્ટ કર્યો છે, એ compliance છે. So in the Income Tax Act audit, the tax audit, you were restricting yourself to the 40 clauses. You were not reporting outside of that. In the Companies Act, you were restricting probably to the Companies Act, to the accounting standards, auditing standards, or the due dates. But there were certain aspects. For example, you went to a client and you noted that there were 25 or 30 full-time paid employees. Then your auditor's mind will tell you that PF may be applicable. But because there was no requirement to report it, you were not probably reporting on it because there was no requirement for you to come out and report. Though there was a non-compliance of other law and regulation. In this case, the PF Act. Now, with NOCLAR coming into picture, you are no longer restricted your reporting to just that law under which you're auditing. You will also have to report under other laws and regulations which are applicable to the entity. It may be environment laws, it may be other laws relating to corruption, bribery, terrorist financing. All of that will now get covered in NOCLAR. So important change which is increasing the ambit of your audit. એક વસ્તુ ખાસ ધ્યાન રાખવાની છે કે શરૂઆતમાં in this first phase, this NOCLAR has been made only applicable for listed companies. So we will discuss this when we go forward. But conceptually, I want to explain these 5 very important changes in part A. One was NOCLAR. Now, second, we come to taxation services to audit clients. What do I mean by that? So, in the current code of ethics also, there are taxation services that you provide to audit clients. There is no provision on or any bar or restriction or prohibition in this code. એટલે કે તમે જે કંપનીનું ઓડિટ કરો છો એનું ઓડિટ રિપોર્ટ તમે આપો છો, એનું રિટર્ન તમે ભરો છો, રિટર્ન ભર્યા બાદ એનું અસેસમેન્ટ પણ તમે કરાવતા હશો, કદાચ અપીલમાં જાય તો અપીલ પણ આપણે જ કરાવતા હોઈએ છીએ. અત્યાર સુધી એનામાં કોઈ રિસ્ટ્રિક્શન નહોતું. Now in the revised code, there is a restriction on taxation services, that if you are the statutory auditor giving an opinion, giving reasonable assurance on the financial statements, then there are certain restrictions on the tax services that you can provide on audit clients, income tax as well as GST. But please be mindful, these are restrictions, it is not prohibition. And prohibition and restriction માં શું ફરક હોય છે કે restriction હોય એ limited હોય, prohibition એટલે flat ban હોય. And restriction ને overcome કરવા માટે there are certain ways which are provided in this code itself. We will discuss them when we discuss these slides in detail. But એટલું યાદ રાખજો કે પહેલા જેમ તમે કોઈ પણ tax services તમારા audit client ને આપી શકતા હતા, going forward you will not be able to provide it in the same manner as it was, and things will not remain just as they were. So one, NOCLAR, second, taxation service, third is management responsibilities. So whatever the task the management has to do, જે કામ management એ કરવાનું છે, that has to be done only by management. You cannot as auditor start doing or stepping into the shoes of the management. And what do I mean by that? In fact, if you look at the Companies Act, already section 144 માં 5-7 વસ્તુઓ કીધેલી છે કે તમે અગર ઓડિટર હો તો તમે એના બુક્સ ના લખી શકો, તમે એને વેલ્યુએશન ના સર્વિસ કરી શકો, તમે મેનેજમેન્ટ કન્સલ્ટિંગ સર્વિસીસ એને ના આપી શકો. Those are prohibited for you to do it to your audit client. You cannot provide those services, leave alone invoicing for it and charging the client for these services. So those are prohibited. Companies Act માં તો prohibition છે. By introducing in the code of ethics, it is barred for all forms of entities. So not just corporate, non-corporate bhi જેટલી forms છે, proprietor firm, partnership firms, trust, cooperative, બધા માટે હવે આ restriction આવી ગયું છે. Management responsibility તમે નહીં લઈ શકો. And what is management responsibility? What the management is supposed to do, that is management responsibility. You should not be doing what the management is doing. So for example, in the financial statements audit, we write that the financial statement preparation is the responsibility of the management. So then the tally file તમારા ઓફિસે હોય, એન્ટ્રીઓ તમે પાડતા હો, બેંક સ્ટેટમેન્ટ તમારા પાસે હોય, બેંક રિકન્સિલિએશન તમે બનાવતા હો અને પછી એના પર તમે ઓડિટ કરતા હો, then you are actually doing what the management is supposed to do, the accountant is supposed to do. That is a clear cut prohibition, that those are activities that you cannot do as chartered accountants who are auditing the client. Correct? So one important change regarding management responsibilities. Moving forward, there is one change also which has been introduced. Again, like I said, this code of ethics part A was introduced by the old council. I have my personal view regarding this. Jayabhai bhi kidum ethical standards board ma પણ આના પર issue raise કર્યો હતો, because I personally feel that this next provision is a little harsh, and I will explain you why. But let's just understand what the provision is. ધ્યાન આપજો, બહુ important change છે. અત્યાર સુધી એવું હતું કે 40% of more of your fees, for example 10 લાખની આપણી રિસીટ હોય તો 4 લાખથી વધારે ફી આપણને જો એક જ ક્લાયન્ટથી મળતી હોય તો there was a recommendatory cap કે 40% વધારે કોઈ પણ એક ક્લાયન્ટ પાસેથી આપણે ટોટલ રિસીટ ના આવી જોઈએ. Why? Because then you become dependent on the client, and the perception is that he may then become the MyBap, or he may become the controlling factor. Now there is a change, and this change has been brought about, and it is now in line with the international practice, which is there in the International Code of Ethics. 15% restriction fees from a single client, or a single client group પાસેથી તમને જો 15% વધારે પૈસા મળતા હોય for 2 consecutive years. So 1920 and 1819. For 2 years, if that same client contributed more than 15% of your receipt. So if your receipt was, let's say 20 lakhs, and you are getting 5 lakhs from this one client for 2 consecutive years, then you have to communicate with TCWG, those charged with governance, it's like a management. So you have to, in your engagement letter, very clearly and forthwith write it to them that your client, that you as a client are providing more than 15% of my fees. This has been introduced. Why this? First, understand the concept of this. It has been done so that we cannot be in a dominating position. Challenge here will be what happens in certain scenarios. But 15%, this is as of now, when we are talking today, before any amendment. Let me share with you, 30th June, we have our next council meeting. There are certain proposals that this clause must be the restriction must be removed in certain manners that small and medium practitioners do not face a huge challenge. I also share a very similar view. Certain opinion has received from quarters that because all acts now karo hatu, ઘણા બધા નવા ઇમ્પ્લિમેન્ટેશન આ વર્ષમાં થવાના હતા. They have all been postponed because of this COVID and pandemic situation. This must also be postponed. So what happens on 30th of June, I'm not aware. I cannot prejudge that. But let me share with you, this is coming. What is this? As of today, this is there. How it gets diluted or made comfortable, we will see. But as of today, 15% or more from the same client for 2 consecutive years, then you have to communicate with those charged with governance. Exemptions che 5 lakh. The current exemption is for 5 lakh total fee. So if fees is below 5 lakh, then this doesn't apply. Second, government audit, C&AG audit, government companies, it doesn't include. Public sector banks, that is the MEF through ILA CAM, those are not included. Except that if you have, then you have to inform. But I still feel it will be a little challenging, especially for newer practitioners. They look navi practice chalu kari hai. Because starting of the years, you may not get those many clients. In 4 or 5 years, you may have 20 clients, but 3 or 4 larger ones which give you major practice. So therefore, I feel it's a little harsh if you make it applicable immediately for new practitioners, and even for some seniors who have chosen consciously that I don't want to do hundreds of clients. I want to restrict my quality of work to limited clients. Now to force them to have extra clients, I don't think it is reasonable. So I'm going to at least put forth my views. If any of you here have your views on this provision, please share it to me by email, and I will be happy to represent them at the council level also. So, NOCLAR, આપણે સમજી ગયા, non-compliance of laws and regulations. Taxation service માં restrictions છે. Management services આપણાથી નથી કરાતી, management responsibilities. અને 15% વધારે fee જો એક જ client group 2 વર્ષથી આપતું હોય તો આપણે એને જાણ કરવાની છે. It is only an information that you have to do. You have to communicate. And finally, there is independence standards that have been introduced. It was not there in the earlier Code of Ethics of 2009. So these are structural changes. These are substantive changes rather in the Code of Ethics. What are the structural changes then? એટલે કે બંધારણમાં સ્ટ્રક્ચરમાં કયા પ્રકારના ચેન્જ છે? તો સૌથી પહેલું અને મોસ્ટ ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ ચેન્જ છે ઇન્ડિપેન્ડન્ટ સ્ટેન્ડર્ડ્સ. 2 ભાગમાં કરવામાં આવ્યા છે. One is the independent standards for audit and review. એટલે કે જ્યાં હું assurance સર્વિસ આપું છું એના માટે એક સ્ટેન્ડર્ડ્સ છે. અધર એન્ગેજમેન્ટ એટલે કે સર્ટિફિકેટ હોય, કન્સલ્ટિંગ હોય કે બીજા પ્રકારના જે અધર સર્વિસીસ, રિલેટેડ સર્વિસીસ આપણે આપતા હોઈએ એના માટેના ઇન્ડિપેન્ડન્ટ સ્ટેન્ડર્ડ્સ અલગ કર્યા છે. So there are now 2 parts to it. 4A, 4B. Independent standards are bifurcated. Independent standards have been categorized as international independent standards because આપણી વાત થઈ એમ this Code of Ethics is derived from the ISBA code and the standards are on the international level. Then there is certain change in the grammar. The convention uses instead of should, it says shall. અને જે Code of Ethics Volume 1 છે, જે I'm sure branches will circulate to you. હવે તમે એને ખોલશો ને તો એમાં બહુ જ ક્લિયર સેક્શન બાય સેક્શન આ બધા રિક્વાયરમેન્ટ્સ આપેલા છે. મોટું R કરીને લખ્યું હશે ને that means it is a requirement. એટલે આ તમારે કરવાનું છે. અને જો એના પછી કોઈ એપ્લિકેશન મટીરિયલ હશે એટલે કે ગાઈડન્સ હશે, so alphabet A in capital will be clearly given to you. So those are very clearly identified, and more importantly, now there is clarity that which of these sections apply to firms, which apply to individuals within the firm. એટલે કે કોઈ ભૂલ થઈ હોય તો આખી ફર્મ ક્યાં રિસ્પોન્સિબલ છે, એનો પાર્ટનર ક્યાં રિસ્પોન્સિબલ છે, and if you are part of a larger network, then where the networks are responsible. So these are structural changes that have been done to our revised Code of Ethics. We will discuss all these changes one by one, but before that, some concepts that we need to very clearly appreciate. So the definition, first and foremost, professional accountant. This is the definition that has been used in the revised code. Why? Because the terminology for professional accountants, for example, in the US is CPA. In the UK, it is chartered accountant. In Australia, there is chartered accountant and CPA. So when the international framework is being established, you do not say CA, CPA. They are referred to as professional accountants. And આપણા કોડમાં પણ એને professional accountants કીધા છે. અને professional accountant નું definition એ છે કે an individual who is a member of ICAI. એટલે કે chartered accountant indirectly defined થઈ ગયો. So this is one way of understanding professional accountant because it is different in different countries. The revised code, as you are aware, had 2 parts, part A, part B. The revised code has part A, B, which is volume 1, volume 2, and then volume 3, which is the case law referencer. Within the volume 1, there are subparts. the part 1, which deals with all professionals. એટલે કે ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ પ્રેક્ટિસમાં હોય or ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ ઇન સર્વિસ એટલે કે મેમ્બર ઇન ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી, એ બધા માટે એપ્લિકેબલ થતો હોય તો પાર્ટ 1. Part 2 applies only to professional accountants in business, that is in service, which we commonly refer to as member in industry. So part 2 applies to member in industry. Part 3 applies to professional accountants in public practice, which we commonly call as COP holder. એટલે જેના પાસે COP વાળા આપણા ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ્સ છે એમને લાગશે પાર્ટ 3, પાર્ટ 1 બધાને લાગશે, પાર્ટ 2 ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રી વાળાને લાગશે. પાર્ટ 4 ના બે ભાગ છે. ઇન્ડિપેન્ડન્ટ સ્ટાન્ડર્ડ મેં તમને કીધું એમ ઓડિટ કરતા હોઈએ કે રિવ્યુ કરતા હોઈએ તો 4A, અને બીજી સર્વિસીસ આપતા હોઈએ નોન ઓડિટની તો 4B. એન્ડ છેલ્લે ગ્લોસરી છે, ડેફિનેશન્સ છે, which are applicable to all. So with this definition of professional accountant we have understood, you have also understood the larger structure of this volume 1. Now the biggest question that a lot of people ask is, how, under what authority does the council issue the code of ethics? A mandatory કેમ છે? ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ એક્ટ છે, શેડ્યુલ છે, કંપનીઝ એક્ટ છે, તો કોડ ઓફ એથિક્સ કયા પાવરથી it draws its strength to make it mandatory? Here I would like to draw your attention to clause 1, part 2 of the second schedule of the Chartered Accountants Act, which states that a member of the institute, member meaning a chartered accountant, a member of the institute, whether in practice, in a full-time practice or part-time practice, or not, so member not holding a COP, shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he contravenes any provisions of this act, that is the CA Act of 1949, or the regulations, that is the Chartered Accountant Regulations 1988 and other regulations framed under the act, made thereunder, or guidelines issued by the council. So the code of ethics, dear colleagues, is issued as a guideline of the council, and therefore it is mandatory for all of us to apply. People ask, how do you make UDIN mandatory? How is the tax audit limit enforced? These are all enforced by issuing them as guidelines of the ICI. And once a guideline is issued, it has the full power and strength of the council of the act. And therefore, if its violation is done, then you are punishable under the Chartered Accountants Act's second schedule, part 2, clause 1. This is the requirement of compliance. Like I mentioned, the structuring, if you go through part A, capital R લખ્યું હશે, that is requirements, એ તમારે કરવાનું છે. introduction para પછી આવશે અને એના પછી આવશે application material. So introduction, requirement એટલે કે this is to be followed, and એનું guidance material, illustrations, examples જે આપ્યા છે એમાં capital A કરીને એને identify કર્યું છે as application. Now let us come to a very, very important slides, and here for the next 5-10 minutes I would request your attention, because these are the core principles. If you understand this, then you will understand the code of ethics part A in more clarity, in more principle, granular, fundamental level, and the application will become easier. Conceptual framework, એટલે basic foundation ke પાયો આ નવા code of ethics નો શું છે? This has been diagrammatically explained here. The conceptual framework, there are 5 basic fundamental principles that a chartered accountant or a professional accountant is supposed to maintain. And what are those? The first and foremost is professional competence and due care. You are all aware, under the Companies Act, under the Income Tax Act, the audit right has been given to chartered accountants. Why? Because those are people under the statute also who are deemed to be professionally competent. Any MCom or commerce graduate or any other person with a commerce degree, he cannot come tomorrow and start doing audit, because that will not be allowed. The statute has recognized the power of chartered accountants to do the attest function. And why is it so? Because they are deeming us to be professionally competent. Our course, our learning, our CP, which is our continuous learning, enables us to take opinions and do the audit of these financials. Due care means what? That I exercise professional care. ચાલશે, જેમ આવ્યું એમ જવા દઈએ, 19-20 નહીં ચાલે. If you are given something, what is basically expected out of a chartered accountant is that you exercise due care. If a balance sheet total has to be there, at least ensure that the total of the asset side and the total of the liability side is same. I'm just giving you very crude examples, but basics to understand. So due care means what? That when you are document is being attested and passing through the eyes of a chartered accountant, it is expected that he would have taken due care, and basic silly mistakes cannot be there. So professional competence and due care, the conceptual framework, an important part. Integrity. What is integrity? I think no need to explain. I say it with all sincerity, almost 95 to 99% of our chartered accountants, rather almost 100%, have this imbibed in them. You have integrity of the highest level. When we deal, for example, with a client and we are getting all the information of the client, what is his purchase? Who is he purchasing from? What is the purchase cost? What is the conversion cost? Then who is he selling that material to? At what rate is he selling? What are the payment terms? All that is aware. But still, as chartered accountants, we maintain our integrity and we don't share that information with some competitor. We don't even think, we don't do that because we have integrity. We ensure that the client's information which has come to us, we maintain our highest level of integrity when dealing with it. So integrity is a core principle of the conceptual framework. Objectivity. Whatever is given to you, you are able to analyze it, look at it in a very objective fashion. You cannot think, yaar, આ કંપનીમાં મારા શેર્સ છે કે મારા સગાના શેર છે એટલે હું છોડને ક્વોલિફિકેશન નથી આપતો, એમ જ રિપોર્ટ જવા દઉં ને આંખ બંધ કરી દઉં. You have to be objective. That is why you are not allowed to own shares of companies that you audit. You are not supposed to audit your own immediate close family or relatives. Why? Because your objectivity then gets lost. But for all other clients, you have to be objective. If the situation demands, today when we are sitting in the corona pandemic situation and you see that the client has a going concern issue, you have to be objective and be able to very clearly in the audit report set out and mention that there is a going concern challenge, the company is facing these issues. That is objectivity which is expected from a chartered accountant. Confidentiality, well again, I don't need to tell all of you, we have clients BSc with us at a lot of locations. I'm seeing people carry the digital signatures. You have all the information of their tax returns. In fact, so much confidential information rests with chartered accountants, and we maintain the highest level of confidentiality. One simple example, in the recent days, you would have seen in the case of Reliance Industries Limited, દર અઠવાડિયે કે દર ત્રીજા દિવસે છાપામાં આવતું હતું કે ફલાણા કંપની આમાં 10,000 કરોડ આપ્યા, ફલાણા કંપની આમાં 20,000 કરોડ આપ્યા. આ આખું ટ્રાન્ઝેક્શન જ્યારે ચાલતું હશે ત્યારે કેટલાય ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ્સ રિલાયન્સ તરફથી, સામેની કંપની તરફથી, or even who are involved in advisory role, would have actively participated in the transaction. But the entire information only came out in public domain once the announcement was made. Similarly, listed companies, so much data is there with the auditors and even the chartered accountants who are working as CFO in the company. But till the result is uploaded on BSc, NSC and submitted to the exchange, this information remains confidential. This is confidentiality, which is expected of chartered accountants. And I'm confident huge majority of us are maintaining this. Finally, professional behavior. What is professional behavior? Your conduct with your clients, with your staff, with team, with the income tax officers, with assessing officers that you are meeting, how you are exhibiting professionalism, how you are dealing with them, how you are expressing your views. I think professional behavior not just is restricted to the conduct, to your dealings, to your communication, but I extend it even further to even how you dress or how you keep your office premises and the smallest aspects of it. And again, I'm not judging anybody. In today's day and world, it is very comfortable for us to be in t-shirt, jeans. In the West, a lot of people have already adopted it. It may feel comfortable for us to go in a jeans and t-shirt in office. I'm not judging anybody. I have no complaints also. But I just try to give this example, and I hope this never happens to anybody. But God forbid, if તમે એક two-wheeler પર કે ગાડીમાં તમારા કોઈ loved one જોડે જાઓ છો, and again, God forbid, let's say there is a small accident, and immediately you have to rush that relative or loved one of yours or your friend of yours to the hospital, and the person says that we have to do a small surgery, we will operate. And as soon as the door opens for the surgery, you see a doctor. Mind well, he is the doctor from Harvard, masters from Stanford, Oxford University graduate, very educated, but he comes in a t-shirt with jeans જેમાં ત્રણ અલગ અલગ જગ્યાએ કાણા છે. આજકાલ ફેશનમાં છે ને પેલા હોલ્સ વાળા જીન્સ આવે, તો ત્રણ અલગ અલગ જગ્યાએ કાણા છે. એના અહીંયા હાથ પર ટેટુ છે. વાળ અલગ રંગના છે. There are 3 different colors in the hair. He is wearing a headphone and he comes, yo, let's do the operation. Put your hand to your heart, or you can answer to me in the chat. Let's be honest to ourselves. Will you be comfortable handing over your loved one and this doctor performing an operation on that loved one, though he is from such a renowned university? See, immediately your answer will be no. And why is it so? Because in our subconscious, in our conscious, we expect that a doctor who performs the surgery will be coming in the white robe that he is always wearing, the apron. In fact, today when we are in the pandemic situation, they are wearing a PPE kit. They are wearing the whole kit to protect themselves with mask and everything else. That is how you've always known to see a doctor. તમે કોર્ટમાં જાઓ, મોટામાં મોટો લોયર હોય, હરીશ સાલ્વે સાહેબથી લઈ નાનામાં નાનો લોયર, he will always be in the black robe when he's appearing before the judge, because that is the hallmark of the professional. Then how is chartered accountants? Ask this question to yourself. And again, if you decide that it's not important, it is absolutely your prerogative. I am nobody to judge that. But as a chartered accountant, when somebody is coming with his entire, not his life, physical life, but his entire financial life in front of you, opening up all of that in front of you, expecting you to guide him, to give him the right direction to his business, to his family, to his earnings, because it's a very important part of any person's life. And you are sitting there in this informal atmosphere with such informality. Does that inspire confidence? Does the client feel confident to give you these details? Let's ask ourselves this question. If you feel that no, it is not, then my request is that this professional behavior that we are discussing, let it not be just restricted to our conduct, our communication, our behavior, but also the smaller, finer aspects of how the office is and how we are sitting, because that will inspire the largest amount of confidence in the prospective clients or even the existing clients that we have. So with this, I think we've covered. Again, I apologize if I've hurt feelings of anybody. I am not judging. I'm just sharing my viewpoint. Sometimes young members meet me and say, "Sir, kem avu thaya chhe?" And I look at the way they are dressed. I tell them, "Dost, tane kem koi kaam ape?" You have to inspire for that person to come to you and give him that work. So that is, in that perspective, I shared my deliberations. So what are you supposed to, as chartered accountants, comply with? Integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. These, if we are understanding, then the application of the code of ethics, I believe, is going to be very simple for us. And very important slide coming up, that if you appreciate, then all the other sections which will follow will be very easy for you to understand. The core principles or the general application of the code is based on 2 aspects: threats and safeguards. What are threats? જો આપણે ઇન્ટરનલ ઓડિટ કરતા હોઈએ તમને ખબર હશે રિસ્ક્સ હોય. સો રિસ્ક છે કોઈ પણ એસ્પેક્ટ, અને એ રિસ્ક પર આપણે જો કંટ્રોલ મૂકી દઈએ, so then those controls mitigate the risk. Similarly, in this entire code of ethics, the code of ethics is based on the risks or the threats that are perceived and that exists for professional accountants, not just in India, internationally. And then what can be the safeguards that you can apply to bring down the risk? And I will explain through a diagram what I mean by this. But let's understand these 5 basic threats in conceptual clarity. The first and foremost is self-interest threat. What is self-interest? મારા પોતાની કંપની છે, મારા સગા ભાઈની કંપની છે, કે મારા શેર્સ એ કંપનીમાં છે. Then I have interest in the entity, which is self-interest. And that is a threat, because at a time when I have to qualify or give an adverse opinion, give certain disclaimer of opinion, then in that case, there may self-interest that may not allow me to perform my duty to the fullest. Self-review threat. Let us go back to the first slide. First question I asked you. Can you write the accounts and audit it? Answer is no. You all said it emphatically. That is self-review threat. કેમ કે પોતાની ભૂલ પોતે નહીં સમજી શકીએ. જો મેં કંઈ કામ કર્યું છે, I will not be able to find its mistake. So that is self-review threat, because of which accounting in India has been barred to be performed as a function for a lot of years through the act and the schedule itself. You will be surprised, some international countries allow accounting and auditing by the same firm, not for listed or other entities, but nana entities may allowed hoy છે. Now, even internationally, they are thinking of banning these services. In India, thankfully, we have led the way. KT mentioned in his introduction that in certain aspects, the world is following India. This is one such example. So self-review threat is you review your own work. Advocacy. ક્લાયન્ટની હું ઓડિટ કરું છું, આગળ જેનું રિટર્ન મારે ભરવાનું છે, એનું અસેસમેન્ટ મારે કરાવવાનું છે, એનું જીએસટી રિટર્ન મારે ભરવાનું છે, તો કદાચ એવું બની શકે કે આગળ જઈને અસેસમેન્ટમાં એને તકલીફ ના આવે એના માટે જો મેં કોઈ ટેક્સ પોઝિશન લીધી હોય, હું ટેક્સ પોઝિશન બુક્સમાં પણ એવી રીતે સર્ટિફાઈ કરીશ કે ક્વોલિફાય નહીં કરું કે એનું ધ્યાન નહીં દોરું તાકી મને આગળ જઈને અસેસમેન્ટમાં તકલીફ ના આવે. Because you have to advocate. What is advocate? You have to promote or explain that position in front of other authorities. And because of that, maybe your audit services may get hampered. So self-interest, you have understood. Self-review, we know. Advocacy means I have to advocate in front of some government official or explain that position. Familiarity. Same client from 25 years. ઘણી વાર એવું થાય કે ઘર જેવા સંબંધ થઈ જાય. એમના બધા પ્રસંગમાં તમે જતા હો, તમે તમારા ઘરના પ્રસંગોમાં એમને બોલાવતા હો. It's good. But what is the threat that exists in that environment as per the international threats that are identified is that if you are too familiar, then in a situation where you demand or the situation demands that you be objective and very clearly say that no, these accounts cannot be audited, I have to put a disclaimer, I have to put a qualification, I have to put an emphasis of matter, familiarity may become difficult because you know the client so well, you are maybe not able to write it on pen and paper. So familiarity is a threat. Intimidation. Intimidation means client આઈને આપણને ધમકી આપી જાય. ક્લાયન્ટ એના પોઝિશનમાં હોય કે તમને ડોમિનેટ કરે. અને એ ક્યારે થાય? જ્યારે ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ મારી 50% 60% ફી એક જ ક્લાયન્ટથી આવતી હોય અને પછી એક વર્ષ મારે એનામાં કંઈક લખવું પડે ઓડિટ રિપોર્ટમાં, તો એને કહી શકે કે સાહેબ રહેવા દો, હું બીજા પાસે કરાવી લઈશ. And that is an intimidation position, that he has a position over you, to have power over you, take the work, and because he is such an important part of your total receipt, you will be intimidated and compromise. So these 5 threats, if you have understood, we will understand the entire sections of this revised code of ethics. Self-interest, એટલે મારું શેર હોલ્ડિંગ કે મારા રિલેટિવનું ઓનરશિપ. Self-review, એટલે પોતાનું જ કામ હું તપાસું છું. Advocacy, certain position that is taken in the books, I may have to defend in the future. So therefore, that is a threat. Familiarity is long association. How do you remove it? For example, Companies Act માં જેને identify કર્યું 2013 માં અને ઓડિટરનું રોટેશન લઈ આવ્યા Companies Act માં. Why? Because familiar નથી થવા દેવું ઓડિટર અને કંપનીના વચ્ચે. And finally, intimidation threat, that the same client gives you huge amount of your fees. What are the safeguards against it? I always say this: education, training, CP. આજે તમે બધા આયા છો. Lot of disciplinary cases that we go through. Last year I was in the DC bench. You speak to any member who has been in the disciplinary. Lot of times what we find is that the chartered accountants have not intentionally done something, but he had no awareness that this can be done and cannot be done, and because of that they end up making a mistake. It is because of that that I encourage people that please attend seminars like this. ICI has made 2 hours of code of ethics, 2 hours of standards auditing mandatory, because not because we want to increase the participation or because I want to invite you to listen, but I genuinely feel કે જો આપણને ખબર હશે ને કોઈ વસ્તુ તો ભૂલમાં ભૂલ નહીં થાય, and that will result in the entire disciplinary mechanism getting lower number of cases and lesser problems our chartered accountants facing in their professional life. So education, training, CP, if you are attending, you are aware of the changes, then you are less likely to commit that mistake. A corporate governance structure at your client's place where things are independently maintained, in your own firm where audit is different, tax is differently handled, then you can have a corporate governance as a safeguard. Professional standards, accounting standard, auditing standards are not a burden, but in fact they are a safeguard. તો તમારા પર કાલે ઉઠીને કોઈ કમ્પ્લેન કરે કે તમે આ ઓડિટ બરાબર નથી કર્યું, પણ તમે પ્રૂવ કરી શકો કે ના, all the accounts have been made as per accounting standards. મારું રિપોર્ટ ઓડિટ રિપોર્ટ SS 700 પ્રમાણે છે અને બધા પ્રોસિજર સ્ટાન્ડર્ડ્સ ઓન ઓડિટિંગ પ્રમાણે છે, then that is actually a safeguard. You go to the disciplinary website and see all the cases that have been, majority rather of them, where you have found the chartered accountant to be not guilty, like he was not at fault. He has been able to demonstrate that he followed the standards, and therefore standards are a safeguard. Regulatory monitoring and disciplinary mechanism, you are aware institute has a very robust disciplinary mechanism. Last year almost 400 plus cases were heard. If things move at this pace, maybe in a year or two we will be live and no disciplinary cases of the old will be pending. And finally, a safeguard will be an external review, that is a peer review mechanism. તમારી એન્ટિટીમાં જો અમને લાગે કે or તમને જ લાગે કે ના યાર there is certain threat that exists, please get it reviewed by third party. તમે એક ઓપિનિયન આપ્યો અને એ ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ આવીને પણ કહે કે ના સાહેબ આ જ વસ્તુ તમે જે ઓપિનિયન આપ્યો બરાબર છે, આમ જ ક્વોલિફાય કરવાની જરૂર હતી, આ જ લખવાની વાત હતી, અને જો તમે એ જ કરો છો કે ટેક્સ ઓડિટમાં તમારે આ ક્લોઝમાં આ જ લખવાનું હતું, એનાથી વધારે લખવાની જરૂર નથી. થર્ડ પાર્ટી also has the same view. External review is a safeguard. So I hope we have understood the threats, you have understood the safeguards. Why it is important? Because you have to use the safeguards in a situation જ્યાં તમને નવું કામ આવતું હોય, you are continuing an existing assignment. If you are able to bring the threat to an acceptable level by applying safeguards, then you can continue with the audit. If not, you have to step back from the assignment. So that step back concept has been introduced in this code of ethics. You identify the threat, eliminate the circumstances, you apply safeguard. If it comes down, accept or else decline or end the service. Let's understand that in a diagram form. Evaluate threats. મારું સેલ્ફ રિવ્યુમાં થ્રેટ છે, મારી સેલ્ફ ઇન્ટરેસ્ટમાં થ્રેટ છે, હું આ કંપનીનો શેર હોલ્ડર છું, તો ઓડિટ એક્સેપ્ટ કરતા પહેલા જો એ કંપનીના શેર્સ વેચી કાઢું, તો ઇટ્સ અપ્લાઇંગ અ સેફગાર્ડ. જો હું શેર્સ વેચી કાઢ્યા, then I have no self interest, then you have reduced the threat. Then what you do is you accept the assignment. But if you are not able to reduce the threat, તમારા સગા ભાઈની જ કંપની છે, and you feel that I will not be able to remove the self interest threat, then please decline the assignment. So this is the large conceptual framework under which the code of ethics functions. After having understood that, I think understanding the major changes, the 5 that we discussed, will not take us too much time. The first and foremost change that has been introduced is, like I discussed, NOCLAR. What is NOCLAR? NOCLAR refers to any act of omission or commission. That means any act that is omitted or committed. Omitted is generally by error. Committed is generally by thoughtful design. So if he has omitted or committed, by whom? By your client. If you are the auditor, then any act which is જાણીને કે અજાણ્યામાં તમારા ક્લાયન્ટથી થઈ હોય. And though if you are not in practice, you are in industry, then by your employer. So if you are a CFO and you know the management is omitting or committing something, then NOCLAR becomes applicable. And in this situation, you have to report it. Like I mentioned at the initial level, NOCLAR at this stage, at the first phase, is only applicable for listed entities, and that too only for audit assignments. So if you're doing, let's say, some small other work for a listed entity, which is not audit, then it is not applicable. But for audit of listed entities, this has become mandatory for the chartered accountant in practice who is doing the audit, and for all the employees of these listed entities, it has been made mandatory. So this is the large concept of NOCLAR. I can ask 1 or 2 examples so that our conceptual clarity can be gained. I'll give you one example and please let me know what you feel. There is a company which you are auditor of. You go to the client, you are aware that there is a huge, it's a chemical factory or a textile factory. There is a huge amount of waste that gets generated. And there is no ETP that he has put in place. There is huge wastage which is coming out, which is violating environmental laws, not just harming the environment, but may also have financial repercussions and penalty, which the Pollution Control Board may levy. Is that an example of NOCLAR in your view? Please answer in the chat box. Again, don't sacho khoto jawab farak nathi padto. Just let me know that whether that, yes, Ketan bhai, you are saying it is NOCLAR. Bhumil bhai saying yes. Jimish bhai, Gunjan, Jinesh, again, Kiran Patel, they are all saying that these are all examples of, Jai bhai is saying these are all examples of NOCLAR, and you are all absolutely right. You have understood the concept to the T. NOCLAR is when such a situation happens, you may have an implication on the financial position, and therefore it is NOCLAR. Another example of the same client, and you see that the promoter is there. He is married. Hindu Marriage Act applies. Is there, married for a lot of years, and you see that he is now having an extramarital affair. You are able to notice it. You can clearly distinguish कि आप भाईनु आकाशे लफड़ू चाले छे. He is probably violating his domestic vows, his laws. Will that constitute NOCLAR? Excellent. I think you have all, in very clear terms, understood this concept of NOCLAR. I'm glad to see this. All people are saying no. You are very correct. Let's refer to the next slide to understand. laws and regulations that have nexus to professional accountants training and expertise. એટલે કે જે મને જાણ છે એ જ કાયદાની વાત કરવાની છે. And second, that have a direct effect on the determination of material amounts in the financial statements. એટલે એ amount થી ક્યાં તો financial statement માં impact પડશે, જેમ કે pollution છે તો કાલે ઉઠીને contingent liability કરવી પડે કે provision કરવું પડે, અને amount has to be material. So it may affect into a adjustment in the financial statement or disclosure of a material amount. Then you have to report it. What are the examples of this? Fraud, corruption, money laundering, terrorist financing. These are all examples. If you look at the Code of Ethics, the 360 section, a lot of examples that are covered are listed here. You can see it for yourself. Fraud, money laundering, securities market માં insider trading કરતું હોય તમારો client અને તમને ખબર હોય તો, data protection, tax, pension and liabilities, environmental protection. We go back to the example I gave of pollution. So these are all examples of NOCLAR. And what are not to be reported? Matters which are inconsequential, material nathi, personal misconduct, જેનો મેં example આપ્યો, those are not to be reported in NOCLAR. And now in this phase, since it is only applicable for listed companies, the reporting has to be done to SEBI. So now we move to the next part after understanding NOCLAR, which is an important change that has been introduced. The next is the independent standards. Like I mentioned in the initial remarks, 4A, 4B, two different parts. Audit assurance service માટે એક, અને જે audit કે review ની assurance service હોય, અને બીજી services માટે audit ને review અલાવા it will be in 4B. And when the breach of independent standards happen, in those cases, you have to identify the breach and refer to these independent standards. You have to either end or suspend the interest that caused the breach. એટલે કે તમારા shares હતા કોઈ કંપનીમાં, you sell those shares and remove the independence. And if there is applicable legal or regulatory requirement, then that has to be applied. So that is with relations to independent standard. You have understood NOCLAR. The key audit partner is an important definition, which is also a part of this revised Code of Ethics. Why it is important is because now in today's day and age, there is firm rotation. In the Companies Act, proprietor હોય તો 5 વર્ષ પછી retire થાય, partnership firm હોય તો 10 years પછી there is a retirement clause in the Companies Act. Similar to the firm rotation, within this new Code of Ethics, there is partner rotation. So the partner rotation coexists with firm rotation. Firm એ rotate કરવાનું, પણ 10 વર્ષનો જો તમારો appointment હોય, so within that 10 years, you also have to do a partner rotation. And what is that requirement? Let us understand in this graphic. As of today also, and please pay attention because some of the members are not aware even today, in the 2009 code, which is applicable today as of 28th June, there is this provision that 7 years, no period pate. So if you have signed the balance sheet for 7 years, 2 years cooling off period લેવો પડે. You cannot do the audit as the partner for 2 years. તમારી firm માં બીજો કોઈ sign કરશે ચાલશે. But after 7 years, a 2-year cooling period is required. The now, in this new revised Code of Ethics, there is a change. The cooling off period for the engagement partner. એટલે કે જે સહી કરતો હતો, બધી જવાબદારી જેના માથે હતી, કે 5 વર્ષ માટે same audit નહીં continue કરે. Engagement quality CR. એટલે those of you who have done peer review will know the EQCR who does the engagement quality and concurrent review. He has leading or coordinating the professional services of the work. You cannot engage and discuss with the engagement team. એટલે જે audit team છે એના જોડે બી તમે રોજ discussion કરો એ નહીં હોય, and you cannot oversee the relationship on behalf of the firm. So all of this has been prohibited under the new code. Very important for partnership firms where you have certain clients. This will become applicable and you will have to ensure within the firm also there is partner rotation. So important aspect that is covered here. Now let me come to management responsibilities. If you remember at the initial level we spoke, there is a strict prohibition on management responsibilities. What are management responsibilities? Each country has its own definition of management responsibility. India ma, this definition has been quite relaxed because out of management responsibilities, there is a carve out that administrative services ne management service nahi ગણવામાં આવે. હું તમને એક દાખલો આપું. US માં જ્યારે હું ઓડિટ માટે ઘણા વર્ષોથી જઉં છું, in one of the conferences that I had gone to, which was organized by SEC, અહીંયાનું SEBI, ત્યાં SEC કહેવાય, and ત્યાં there was a question that was asked, and again this is only for listed companies of US, not applicable in India, so don't think India માં આવે છે. I'm only sharing to you sort of international perspective for listed companies. So an auditor asked that we say that the financials are responsible to the management. So management has prepared, CFO બનાયા, સહી કર્યા, print બી એને લીધી, પણ મારા ઓફિસે આયા અને મેં એના પર સ્ટેપલર કર્યું. If I staple those financial statements, is that doing management role? And the answer to my surprise from SEC was yes. Even doing that, if you are stapling the accounts of of your client, it is then still taking management responsibility. So there are certain countries who have taken this to an extreme level and saying, auditor છો તો ખાલી opinion આપો, that's it, don't do anything with the financials. India માં તો આપણે financial statements પર sign પણ કરીએ છીએ. Internationally, a lot of places you don't even sign the financials. You're only supposed to give a report, that's it. Everything else the management is doing. So why am I saying this is, let's now understand this in the Indian context. You are not supposed to do the role of the management when you're doing an audit. And this applies for all entities. Section 607, 608 talks about it. There are certain exceptions though, which have been carved out. What are those exceptions? Those are administrative services. એટલે કે આ મેનેજમેન્ટનું ફંક્શન કદાચ હોઈ શકે, પણ હું ખાલી એડમિનિસ્ટ્રેટિવલી એમને હેલ્પ કરું છું. What are those 4 administrative services that have been identified? Word processing service. એટલે એના બિહાફ પર જો કોઈ વસ્તુ મને મળે, હું એનું ફોર્મેટ કરું, ટાઈપિંગ કરું અને પ્રિન્ટ લઉં, તો એને વર્ડ પ્રોસેસિંગ સર્વિસ કહેવાય છે. It was his accounts, it was his notes, he has made it, I am only formatting it. So word processing has been given a carve out. Second, preparing administrative or statutory forms for client approval. So if your client says that please, this is my balance sheet, prepare the computation or the tax return, you can put all those details, enter it in your software, and it has to go to the client for approval. That this is your computation, this is the tax payment, are you okay with it? You are not supposed to decide, ha, atlo tax che barabar che bari deiye. So if you are doing that you are sending it to him via email saying this is your computation, this is the tax return, please approve. And if he returns the reply email by saying yes, approve, and then you submit such form that is based on the instruction of the client. So filing of the return, GST hoy ke income tax hoy, then what this institute's new code of ethics is providing is, especially in the part B also there is this change, that these are not considered as management responsibility. Administrative seva છે, administrative service છે, અને એને violation માં ના ગણવું જોઈએ. Similarly, if you are monitoring statutory filing dates, કયા ડેટે કઈ રિટર્ન ભરવું actually client ની જવાબદારી છે, પણ તમે એને જો મોનિટર કરીને એડવાઇસ આપતા હો તો પણ એને મેનેજમેન્ટ રિસ્પોન્સિબિલિટી ડેફિનેશન માંથી ઇન્ડિયા પર્સપેક્ટિવ થી બહાર કાઢવામાં આવ્યો છે. So I hope we are all clear about management responsibility that cannot be taken up, but administrative has been carved out. Similarly, non-assurance services, bookkeeping આપણી વાત થઈ, certain IT services, recruitment services, these are all non-assurance services and must not be performed for audit clients. Now we come to the taxation of services of audit clients. Juna code of ethics ma તમે tax service આપો client ને, there was no restriction. In the revised code of ethics, there is guidance on taxation matters. અને એમાં એવું કહ્યું છે કે generally અગર તમે audit અને tax બેવ કરતા હો, બે પ્રકારના threats છે. And again, there is a restriction, no prohibition, please appreciate. Self-review threat or advocacy threat. કઈ કયા પ્રકારના છે આપણે સમજી લઈશું. Tax return preparation, મેં તમને કીધું એમ, હું પ્રિપેર કરી ફાઇલ કરું છું, ક્લાયન્ટને અપ્રુવલ માટે મોકલું છું, so not a threat. પણ જો એનું ટેક્સ પ્રોવિઝન હું જ બનાવું અને એ ટેક્સ પ્રોવિઝનની એન્ટ્રી પણ હું નાખું, then where is the maker checker concept? You are preparing the tax provision and you are yourself auditing and attesting it. So in that case, it is a clear-cut self-review threat that must not be done. The computation, if it is made and provision is done, then the auditor must not himself do the provision. Similarly, for tax planning and other tax advisory services, there is a self-review threat and advocacy. કેમ કે આગળ જઈને મારે EO સામે કે CIT અપીલ સામે અપિયર થવાનું થાય, તો થ્રેટ છે. પણ આપણે જેમ શરૂઆતમાં વાત કરી, થ્રેટને અગર તમારે રિડ્યુસ કરવું હોય by putting appropriate safeguards, you have to demonstrate that જે માણસે ઓડિટ કર્યું, જે આર્ટિકલ હતો કે સ્ટાફ હતો એને ઓડિટ કર્યું, ટેક્સેશન માટે બીજી ટીમ હતી, બીજા પર્સને કે મેં રિવ્યુ કર્યું એનું કામ, there was an independent reviewer to review the work, so that there was a clear cut safeguard, a mechanism was put in place to reduce the threat. But if that cannot be demonstrated, then these threats exist. Similar is the case for assistance in example of tax dispute. અપીલમાં જવાનું હોય તો તમે જ ઓડિટ કર્યું હોય, તમે જ અપીલમાં અપિયર કરો, then there is self review and advocacy threat. But if you have some other person, there is a tax person, tax partner who goes and appears, the person who has expressed an opinion does not appear, then this conflict can be eliminated or reduced to an accepted level. So that is regarding taxation services. We have discussed NOCLAR, we have discussed independent standards, we have discussed management responsibility, we have discussed taxation services. I have explained to you about the 15% or more fees from same client for 2 consecutive years. So those are all the major changes. Some important definitions we will browse through now. Close family and immediate family. Immediate family, it is again like in the initial level I mentioned, our international ISBA code પરથી છે. એટલે immediate family ને define કેવી રીતે કર્યું છે? Spouse or equivalent. ઇન્ડિયામાં or equivalent એનું concept હજી એટલું નથી, but internationally છે એટલે this definition is there. It is a spouse or equivalent or dependent. So dependent children or dependent parents are immediate family, but if they are not dependent, they will still be a part of close family, because close family is defined as parent, child or sibling. So immediate family you know, close family you know, and relative is the same definition as section 277 of the Companies Act, which has been used in this code of ethics. So that was one important thing that we understood. Now finally the other definition, मैं तुमने शुरुआत में कीधु PIE, PIE, public interest entity. Let's try and appreciate and understand this definition, because going forward in news, in various other regulations, even the institute's position is that when there are harsher regulations, tough regulations being put because of various changes that are happening, please restrict these changes only to PIE. એટલે કે public interest entity માં જ લાગુ કરો. નાની proprietorship, partnership કે નાની કંપનીઓમાં આ બધા ના આવવા જોઈએ. And for that, this PIE has been introduced in this code of ethics. What is PIE? Listed entity કે કોઈ entity જેના object માં લખ્યું છે કે this entity is created for public interest. And banks and insurance companies for India are also referred to as public interest entity. Important definition, you will see the use of it in the times to come. Finally, we come to inducements, hospitality, gift. You are all aware, audit assurance service karta hoiye, then they must not be, there is a total prohibition to accept this from your audit clients. From other clients, for example, if I have to simply explain, if you are doing some services for them, દિવાળી દિવસે મિઠાઈનો ડબ્બો આવે, no problem. But accepting a ચાંદીનો ડબ્બો, સોનાની લગડી આપે, of course, our client મળતા નથી, પણ જો આપે as a gift form, then it is considered to be an inducement, and these are all must be avoided. You can refer to section 250 and 340 to understand these gifts and hospitality and why they create a conflict. So with that, I think you have understood these major concepts. In the indebtedness, the new code of ethics has introduced internationally the concept of materiality, and this concept has also been adopted in the code of ethics. Pehla indebtedness ma koi criteria ki limit nathi, now that has been introduced, and these are, I think, majorly the changes that have happened. One important point that I would like to highlight regarding volume 1 part A before we move to part B is regarding contingent fees. એટલે કે percentage fee, percentage of profit, percentage of turnover, or event based fee. क्या success fee થશે તો હું લઈ શકીશ. That is not allowed for your audit clients. You cannot charge a percentage or contingent fee for audit clients. એમાં ખાલી 192 રેગ્યુલેશન માં એક્સેપ્શન્સ છે. One, IBC ના હેઠળ જો તમને RP અપોઇન્ટ કર્યા હોય, then in those cases the fees are mandated as a percentage for liquidation which is given in the act, then that is not considered to be a violation. And second is if you are providing non-assurance service, for example, fundraising, for example, some consultancy service to a non-audit client, જેનું તમે audit નથી કરતા. So for those, you can then charge contingent fees. કે આ success basis પર હું પૈસા લઈશ. But that is only for non-audit clients, that is allowed. So I hope that clarity has been given. You have to appreciate that this code of ethics is not only applicable for us as chartered accountant in practice, but even in industry. એટલે જે ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ મેમ્બર્સ સર્વિસમાં છે એમના પર પણ આ કોડ ઓફ એથિક્સના ક્લોઝિસ એપ્લિકેબલ છે, and that is to ensure that responsibility lies on both sides and that even they have to follow these code of ethics, other laws and regulations that have to be reported not just by you but also by the employees from their side if they are chartered accountants. So that are the important changes that were there in the volume 1 part A. We will now move to volume 2, which is part B, which deals with domestic provisions. I will try and cover this in the next 20 minutes that I have, so that we can understand these domestic provisions also. What are these domestic provisions? जो अगर आपने समझવું હોય, and what are the 5 major changes that have happened in this part B? Then, as you are aware, our code of ethics 11-12 વર્ષ પછી રિવાઇઝ થઈ રહ્યું છે. Lot of changes have happened in that period in the Companies Act. The Chartered Accountant Amendment Act of 2011 was introduced. There are council guidelines, changes in accounting and auditing standards. All of those have been incorporated in this part B. So that is the first change. All the decisions that have been taken by the council or the ethical standards board in terms of clarifications, they are now incorporated. So there is larger clarity available to members. There is changes in the advertisement guidelines and council guidelines. What is this? As you will be aware, senior members will be aware, yellow book આપણા ટાઈમ પર આવતી હતી. એ ટાઈમે તમારે કોઈનો ફોન નંબર જોઈતો હોય તો યલો પેજીસ ખોલો અને એમાંથી તમને નંબર મળતા હતા. તો કાઉન્સિલની એ ટાઈમની એક યલો પેજીસની ગાઈડલાઈન હતી. સો નાઉ ધોઝ ઓલ હેવ બીન રિવાઇઝડ બીકોઝ ટુડે nobody uses yellow pages. You use online search, Google and other forms of online material. So those have been amended. Advertisement guidelines also have been made forward looking so that our small and medium practitioners, especially when yesterday we were celebrating the SMP day, they can compete with the larger firms. Changes in commentary in clause 6 and 7, which deal with soliciting of work and taking of new work. How can you take it? EMA changes. And clause 8 of the part 1 of first schedule. Those are major changes. Structurally, if I say, it is now, earlier, like I said, part A, part B was in one volume. Now part B is a different volume. There are paragraphs which have numbered. Titles are there. Appendix apya che, so that there is reference material. Disciplinary cases have been removed and put as separate volume 3. And therefore, by and large, it appears in the same line as the part A. Just to give you an important aspect of the institute's functioning, there is professional misconduct and other misconduct, both which are punishable under this act. Statement on peer review, other statement on CPEs and other statements, they are all mandatory. Guidance notes which are issued by the ICI are generally recommendatory in nature, but if you are not following them, then you must be satisfied that there are certain standards or interpretation of standards which allow you to follow. But statements are mandatory, guidance notes are optional. You would have seen institute ની જે ચોપડીઓ આવે છે, લાલ, પીળી કે ગ્રીન આવે. એ કોઈ માણસને કયો કલર ગમે એના પર નથી, but they all have an important color to it. The standards, for example, will be pink. The guidance notes are in green color. So these all have a coding and they all have a certain authority attached to it, which is important for us to understand. The accounting standards and the auditing standards are now also made a part of this. Non-compliance of this is considered to be a violation of code of ethics. So if we go to the act, there is a schedules to the act. There are 2 major schedules, first schedule and the second schedule. First schedule has 3 clauses which deal with professional misconduct and the 4th one which deals with other misconduct. All of these have clauses under them. And second schedule ma, there are again 3 parts to it. The first 2 talk about professional misconduct. The last one, that is the third one, talks about other misconduct. Other misconduct means what? That not just while performing your duty as an auditor or as a chartered accountant towards your client, but if you bring disrepute to the profession, if the activities are unbecoming of a chartered accountant, then they are punishable under these clauses. The other clauses talk about the professional misconduct. And why it is important is because if you have committed an offense or there is a charge on you, based on which schedule is attracted, your case will either be heard by the Board of Discipline or the Disciplinary Committee. This is all now a part of the Chartered Accountants Act. I hope none of you have to go through this and go through a disciplinary mechanism, but important for us to understand the structure of these schedules and parts, because based on this, there are changes that are proposed in the part B. What are the changes then? First and foremost, MCS, it's like a management consultancy service. There have been changes. You remember we discussed about management responsibility. Administrative services are clearly allowed and can be undertaken for audit clients. Ena sivai kaya management consultancy service ma changes che, we will go through them. So what has been defined as management consultancy service by the ICI was insurance services. Now what has been said is that as an insurance service, you can become an insurance broker. Insurance brokerage service can be provided, but you cannot, as a chartered accountant practice, be an insurance agent. This is not allowed. Important, because these are all permissions granted by the institute as MCS, and therefore no special permission is to be sought if you want to carry out these management consultancy services. Similarly, valuation earlier was always allowed. Now what has been allowed is for you to act as a registered valuer, because the new Companies Act has the concept of the registered valuer under the Companies Valuer and Valuation Rules 2017. Here, I would like to just pause for a minute and share with you that the valuation is now being created as a separate entity. Similar to the ICAI, the Institute for Valuation is being created. In fact, it's a matter of pride that we must all appreciate that when it was conceptualized, the then MCA Secretary Injati Srinivas mentioned that our institute mare ICI જેવી બનાવી છે. અને હમણાં છેલ્લા 2 મહિના પછી જે રિપોર્ટ આવ્યો, એમાં પણ what they have clearly stated is that the Institute for Valuers will be made and modeled on the line of ICAI. So I think that is huge endorsement of what our institute, your and my institute is doing. The level of benchmark it has set. I can only share with you that for CA Day yesterday, we have received the letter of the Prime Minister, Honorable Narendra Modi ji, and he also has mentioned 2 very important lines about our institute, which says that it would not be an exaggeration to say that the community of chartered accountants, many times in each time, I feel elated to meet them, and it is not an exaggeration to state that it is India's most illustrious and industrious body. Every citizen of the country values your honesty, integrity, and commitment to your profession. The nation is proud of you. This is what the Honorable Prime Minister has written to our chartered accountants just yesterday, congratulating us on our CA Day. And that is why I wanted to mention this here when we are discussing that the government is also looking at the ICI as to chartered accountants in that spirit as partners in nation building. And if we follow this code of ethics, I think that value, that level can only keep going, rising higher and higher. So changes in the MCS, retirement of partner, there were these clauses that were there in a case of dispute. Now, because the SSP has been introduced, the reconstitution of the firm is taking place online. These clauses have now been removed. If we talk about clause 3 and clause 4 of part 1 of the first schedule, earlier there was silent, there was no clarity whether you can refer fees amongst chartered accountants to chartered accountants. So one CA referring work to the other, there was no prohibition, but it was silent. Now clear-cut permission is given that this can be executed and permission is granted. With relations to MDP, it's like a multidisciplinary practice where a CA, CS, CWA can all become part of the same firm. That is also allowed under the new code of the regulations, 53A permits for it. But here it is important for you to understand that because our sister institutes have not enabled this provision, therefore the modalities from ICI's end to ensure the application and the effective implementation of this has not been done. Probably, again, I don't know what is the exact reason, but one of the reasons can be that they are of the opinion that if all CA firms start taking CS and CW as partners, eventually in a few years, they all may get merged into CA firms and those professions may not exist independently. Be that as it may, as of now, MDPs, the regulation provides for it, but there are no modalities in the Act. Guidance on tenders, you are all aware in 2016, a very clear-cut guidance was issued by the Council saying that minimum fee in certain assignments for chartered accountants must be mentioned. This is now being made a part of the Code of Ethics Part B also. So you cannot quote where there is minimum fee not mentioned. Important for me to mention here also that last year, Jaibai was here. Under his leadership, under PDC, a tender monitoring group has been made. જે tenders ne monitor કરે છે, and wherever it is found that these, in cases of tenders, the chartered accountant has underquoted. Let me give you a theoretical example. There is a requirement of 2 chartered accountants and 3 staff to be mentioned, to be present for the whole month. And for a few thousand rupees, if a chartered accountant firm has taken the work, we are now calling for the cost sheet for him to explain how can he do this work in this cost. And if it's not found to be justifiable, these matters are referred to the disciplinary committee. So this is a very important change. Again, the guidance on tenders is being made here apart. It was prohibited earlier. Now the prohibition is removed to respond to tenders, but subject to these guidelines. For other degrees, mentioning the word CPA or other degrees, very clear and categorical. જે institutes જોડે આપણું MRA કે MOU છે, ICAEW, CPA Australia, those qualifications you can mention. Besides that, you are not allowed to mention other qualifications on your card. Sponsoring activities. Like I mentioned, our firms have to compete with large multinational firms who are doing huge events by themselves, doing CFO awards, best present account award. And sometimes because of this, the perception is that they are able to get work for themselves. Also expand their firm and footprint. Now the ICI is going to allow firms to participate in certain events which will be held with the perspective of a network. The dream of our Prime Minister to have 10 large firms which are Indian firms. The dream of myself and a lot of members of the council, there must be 1,000 large good sized firms in the country. And to enable that, this is being enabled. Firms can now participate in certain events of the ICI as sponsors, have their stall, exhibit their services, and increase their size and partnerships. I can also share at this moment that I had been given the responsibility by the council to explore how, under the ethical framework, institute itself can have a website. Because you will be aware, last year, Urban Clap and other such websites, there was a clear guidance that chartered accountants cannot register there. So what we are doing is we will build our own portal. CA firms can come and register them. Proprietor hoy, નાનામાં નાની firms hoy, બધી register કરશે. અને મારે કાલે ઉઠીને આનંદ કે ગાંધીધામ કે ભુજમાં કઈ કામ જોઈતું હોય, હું એમાં જઈને સર્ચ કરું એઝ અ ચાર્ટર્ડ એકાઉન્ટન્ટ, બધી ફર્મ્સ મળશે, એક્સપર્ટાઇઝ મળશે, એના બેસિસ પર હું કામ કરાઈ શકીશ. But not just me, third parties or prospective clients can also use that site to get the service of a chartered accountants. And the entire cost of building this platform and even marketing it to a huge extent. My personal belief is that if X is the amount being spent by other large foreign firms, we must spend 2X, but make sure that our small and medium firms can get the right amount of work and exposure. So that work, dear colleagues, has already begun. I have presented that report to the Ethical Standards Board, and now it will go to the council. That was regarding sponsoring. Teaching and coaching activities, you cannot advertise yourself as a teacher and coach, but what is allowed now is that you can share educational videos. It's like a YouTube per ke WhatsApp per educational video તમે share કરી શકો છો, but you should not make any reference to the CA firm where you are a partner or proprietor. But there is no restriction or bar on sharing educational videos. In advertisement, if there are movies in which the music director, the cinematographer, the names are appearing, then in such a case, the name of chartered accountants can also appear, provided it is in the same style and size as others. In an interview that any television or newspaper is taking of yours, even there, if the question is asked, then you may mention the firm name, or else the firm name must be avoided. These are all changes that are coming in. In books, the firm name was never permitted to be mentioned. Now you can mention, for example, CA Jinesh Shah, or you can mention CA Jinesh Shah partner so and so. So including the firm name has been allowed in the authorship of book. Silver Jubilee, Diamond Jubilee, Centenary celebrations, Platinum Jubilee celebrations of firm, they are allowed. You can popularize it, put it in the newspaper, invite everybody. This is allowed for all firms, again to give a level playing field to all practicing firms. Illumination or signboard, એટલે ઓફિસની બહાર કઈ સાઈડની signboard મુકાય, એના માટે બી એક important change કર્યો છે. There is an addition which says that you can have the board now keeping in mind the appropriate visibility and illumination of the signboard. એટલે બિલ્ડિંગની સાઇન અને સાઇઝ પ્રમાણે તમે illumination signboard મૂકી શકો છો. Because now in larger cities, metros, buildings are no longer 5 or 10 story, they're 20, 30 story. And for them, it becomes important to have appropriate signage and illumination. The word internet has been now included in the commentary under clause 7, because earlier only television and films were covered. Now in today's world, people are not advertising through a physical write-up, but through website, web pages, social media is where this is happening, advertisement, and therefore internet has been specifically included in this clause. So let me then ask you one very simple question. Can this CA logo, the green tick, be used by our chartered accountants on their visiting card, on their letterhead, on their hoardings, on their car, on their two-wheelers, any other part? Yes. So the answer, I think, loud and clear by all participants is yes. You are all right. Aaj CNO logo છે એ તમે બધે જ છાપી શકો છો. In fact, it's a matter of pride for me. This was launched in the year 2007 when my father was the president of ICI. It was his concept and idea that how can we give a branding tool to our chartered accountants. And since then, I am seeing that even today, it is largely being used by all CS. So this can be used. Second question then to you will be, and again, you can reply to me on the chat. Can the emblem, if you can see Mara Pachal Maria finger point કરે છે, institutional emblem, અહીંયા right side top પર corner પર પણ તમને દેખાય છે. Can that emblem be used by our chartered accountants on their visiting card? Srikanth should be correct. I think you're the first to answer. Ketan bhai, you're all right. No. So that is only for the institute. It is not for individual members to print on their letterheads. In connection to BNI, again, આ બ્રાન્ચોમાં બહુ જરૂર નથી સમજાવવાની, but there is a clear cut direction which is issued where BNI is not allowed either directly or indirectly, or such networks are not to be permitted where members can become. Social hoy, Rotary, એ બધામાં તમે part બનો, no problem. But these networks where you are soliciting professional work from non-members, it is not allowed. Also, important change is made in the mode of communication. It is officially referred to as communication with the previous auditor. Common ભાષામાં આપણે NOC કહેતા હોઈએ છે. Earlier, this NOC had to be taken through RPAD. Now, two important subclauses were added. Remember, the Code of Ethics was to be made applicable from 1st of July. But this point C has been made applicable in March, looking to this corona and pandemic situation, that you can even take NOC via email. Email can be on the registered email ID, એટલે કે institute માં જે registered email ID છે એ, or on the official ID. Because if you do not know the registered ID, then the official ID, which is on his letterhead or his visiting card, you can send it to there, and that will also be a compliance. Also, what is being introduced is in the UDIN portal, there will now be a facility for members to log in, select their client, and request for no objection. So the entire process, by using technology, we will make it seamless, and is very important because even today, the highest number of complaints that we are receiving at the disciplinary are for non-compliance of this communication clause, or commonly referred to as no objection clause. So if this mechanism is built in, I hope that those cases can be largely reduced. Also, certain changes that have been made in relation to the RPAD. Earlier, if it was post office delivered it and the premises was found locked, then what happens? Now, for all these situations, answers are given in the code itself. And part B clearly says that if this is there, if office was found locked, then the incoming auditor's compliance is sufficient. So these are important changes that are being made with regards to the communication of auditor. Now, moving forward with other changes. Director Simpliciter, we've already discussed. You are aware of the definition. He must not be a managing director or a full-time director. HUF, for a chartered accountant in full-time practice, you cannot be actively engaged in a HUF. If you are a Karta, then you have to take the prior approval of the council. If it is an active engagement of the Karta which is doing business, then you have to take the permission of the council. And it must result out of inheritance, succession, or partition of the family business. For this, if it is in business, you must have to take the permission of the council. Moving forward, there are certain amendments which are made in the second schedule also. Cooling off. So if you have been a director of a company, 2 years પછી પણ તમે એ કંપનીનું ઓડિટ નથી કરી શકતા. So for 2 years, you cannot do the audit after stepping down as a director of a company. Important change being made. MRN, that is membership number, FRN, and the UDIN Lakhu, they were issued as guidelines of the council. Now they have also been made a part of the code of ethics as a generally accepted audit procedure and included in the commentary to clause 9 of part 1. So this has now also become mandatory in the code of ethics. They were there earlier through the guideline of the institute. Important changes being made in the advertisement guidelines. One of the last points that we will cover in today's seminar and the major change that has happened. Advertisement guidelines, like we discussed, being more progressive, being more current to the times, and therefore changes have been made to all these guidelines, the website guidelines, the telephone directory guidelines, the online consultancy, and other guidelines that appear. What are these changes? So first and foremost, earlier the permission was to give a write-up. Write-up એટલે કે printed write-up માં તમે તમારી ફર્મની વિગત આપો, પ્રોફાઇલ જે આપણે કહીએ છીએ એ. હવે એમાં સોશિયલ મીડિયા સાઇટને પણ ઇન્ક્લુડ કર્યો છે. એટલે તમારી ફર્મની જો પેજ હોય, that is also included now under these advertisement guidelines. એમાં શું અલાઉડ છે? તો તમે તમારું નામ પ્રિફિક્સ CA લખી શકો છો. તમારો ફોટોગ્રાફ હોઈ શકે. Earlier, because write-up હતું, પાસપોર્ટ સાઇઝનો ફોટો અલાઉડ હતો. But now, when I am on an iPad, you are on a laptop, somebody is watching from a phone, passport size mapai nahi. We are saying you put a passport style photograph, formal photograph of your face, maybe up to your chest, that can be put on your websites. You are allowed to mention your positions of directorships. If you are registered with a formal network of ICI, that can also be mentioned. But the fundamental principles of advertisement, they have to be honest and truthful. You cannot make exaggerated claims that come to us and we will ensure refund in 5 days, or come to us and there will be no scrutiny. Those are all exaggerated claims, should not be made. They must not bring profession in disrepute. You don't want tomorrow a chartered accountant to go to Bhuj railway station and say 3 tax audits 2 free, 3 tax audit law jode 2 free. A situation આપણને નથી જોઈતી. એટલે we are saying profession in disrepute માં ના લાવવું જોઈએ. એનામાં testimonial કે endorsement ના હોવો જોઈએ, જેમાં કોઈ આઈને કહે કે ભાઈ આ CA સૌથી સારા. No. આપણે બધા જ સૌથી સારા છે. There cannot be a comparison between 2 CA firms. It must not violate any provisions of the Chartered Accountants Act. Font size in this should be 14. And if any of this is found to be in violation, then the ESB has the power to instruct the firm to remove certain portions or the entire write-up. So this has been the changes that have been made in the advertisement guideline. Even in the Council General Guidelines, you are all aware, 60 tax audit limits is the limit that a chartered accountant can do. A 60 ma 44 AD, ADA and a 44 AE is not included. Also important for us to remember that this is limit is qua chartered accountant and not qua firm. So if you are 2 partners, then the limit of the firm is 120. If one partner is doing GST and other is income tax, one person signing, still there will be compliance of this general guidelines of the council. Ceiling of fees we have discussed. 40% ની જે recommendatory limit હતી હવે કાઢી નાખી છે, કેમ કે part A માં 15% ની limit introduce કરવાના છે. Like I mentioned again, we have a council meeting on 30th of June. So if any changes in that, I will promptly inform you and make sure that awareness is spread. With relations to the Companies Act audit, you are aware 30 audits are allowed. It is proposed to retain this chapter such that the maximum limit of 30, there is only 2 exceptions, OPC and dormant company. So a chartered accountant can only do 30 company audits. For this 30, OPC companies, that is 1-person company, and dormant company will not be calculated. These are the appendices to the code. All the standards, accounting, auditing, disciplinary mechanism, all guidelines, the foreign MRA MOUs, the ethical standards board statement, UDIN notification, tender notification, all have been now made a part, including the CA logo of this part B, volume 2 of Code of Ethics. So very important changes that have been included and made in part B. Finally, volume 3 is the disciplinary course case referencer. All disciplinary cases clause wise have been mentioned here. You can go online and see it. I'm sure the branches will also send all the 3 in soft copy to their members. Recent decisions of the Ethical Standards Board, CA firms are allowed to register on Udyog Aadhar, that is the MSME portal. That has also been allowed. Similarly, other changes that have been made by the ESB have all been included as a part of this PPT. You can all look through this, clarifications that have been issued. They are all included in the part. I will also be sharing my PPT for you to go through them. So finally, if you look at where we are proceeding, artificial intelligence is expected to take over a huge part of our profession, accounting or auditing. These are the ethics that are identified in the AI world, in the artificial intelligence world, and each of them correspond or map to the fundamental principles that we have discussed. આપણે જે શરૂઆતમાં ચર્ચા કરી, integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. Those are going to be extremely important. The AI ethics framework, privacy and security is also going to be key because data is going to be the future. And I think if all of this can be maintained, if we can appreciate that, yes, it is the ethics that sets us apart, our point, which is our arrow, should always be pointed towards ethics. If we comply with ethics, I think the flag of the profession, the brand chartered accountant, the way it is, we can take it further higher. And I wish that with this session that we have discussed, the volume 1, part A, volume 2, part B, and the disciplinary case laws, which is volume 3, I've been able to give you a clear-cut understanding of the provisions of the disciplinary cases, of the code of ethics, the changes that are coming, the advertisement guidelines that have been amended, the NOCLAR, the PI, the communication with those charged with governance, all of that have been covered. I once again thank all of you very much for a very active participation, and once again thank the branch for inviting me.
Thank you very much, sir, for the detailed guideline on all